Okay, so let's start. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Essentials. Today, we are lucky to be joined by Dhrumil Shah, who is a Flutter developer, Flutter Google developer expert. He will be taking us through the best practices that one should be using while developing an app in Dart and Flutter. So, over to you, Dhrumil. Just a second. Yeah, Dhrumil, you are right.
Yeah, hello everyone. Hey, thank you so much, Rishi, for inviting me.
Yeah, always a pleasure.
Okay, cool. Hey everyone. As Rishi mentioned, I'm here today to talk about some industry practices in Flutter. So, this is all about how we will, write a Flutter code better, which will have less bugs and proper efficiency. So, let's get started. So, a brief intro about me. So, I'm a father of a very notorious kid who is 16 months old. Right now, working as a senior mobile application developer at high level, GDE for Flutter and Dart. I'm also co-organizer of a tech community called GDG Ahmedabad. Yes, I'm from Ahmedabad, a typical Guju guy who loves fafda and dogra, uh, and also jalebi. And I'm also a founder of Flutterflex. So Flutterflex is one Twitter handle which I founded like 2 years back, where I'm posting all the Flutter related updates over there. So if you want to know anything about the Flutter or what's happening around the world on Flutter, you can simply go and follow this handle, and you will get all the information about it. So you might have seen this kind of tweet since many days, correct? Like this Wordle and these things. So those who don't know, or like who just got confused like me earlier. So I also got confused that why people are posting this, and then I came to know that this is a game called Wordle, and here we need to go and choose the word, or like guess the word, and we have only like 6 chances. So day by day, I become better, but then I leave it because I'm not that good. So also the last hurdle which you can see I have solved, I cheat that. But yeah, so let's before I start my session, I want you to play the hurdle. Those who don't know how to play it, so there is a one word which you need to guess. If you type that word, and if you are not able to guess the word correctly, but whatever the word that you have guessed, and in that you have a particular character which is already in the final word, it will show you yellow. If that particular character is on perfect place, it will show you green. And if that word is not available, it will show you as a gray. So are you guys ready to play with me? Wordle game. So I have created a custom Wordle for you. So I want you to go to this link, which is bit.ly/eflutter, which is an essential Flutter practices. You can, or maybe you can like simply scan this QR code and solve the puzzle. Let me know how many people here are able to solve this. If you are able to guess the word and you are able to solve it, please put it into your chat so I know what is happening. So yeah, I have a dual screen, so I'm looking at your responses. Let me know how many of you are able to solve it. This is a very like a very simple wordle, and if you need help, this is something regarding the today's topic. So if you are able to solve this, post your answer in the chat so I can see at how many try you are able to solve it. Yes, it is easy. Okay, I can see like many people are able to solve it. Can you guys just put your answer, or like the solution, not the answer? You guys are typing flutter. Is this the answer? Yeah, look like you guys are able to crack it. So let's move to the next slide. So as you guessed correctly, it's the Flutter. The word was the Flutter. So what exactly a Flutter is? Those who don't know, Flutter is a Google's UI toolkit for building beautiful, natively compiled applications for mobile, web, and desktop from a single code base. Now, just I would you like to take your interest and your attention on these three words, which is like mobile, web, and desktop, and also a beautifully natively compiled using the single code base. What does it mean? So, for example, there are so many other cross-platform frameworks are available, which are kind of a wrapper to the native APIs. Like, for example, if we have Cordova, we have PhoneGap, we have Ionic, we have React as well. So before I jump to the React, the other frameworks are like kind of a wrapper who use the native APIs. They have their own wrapper, and then you can actually write the code in that wrapper language, like in JavaScript, in HTML, and CSS. What happened in Flutter? Whatever you write as the code, it will directly compile using your native ARM code, so that whatever you write, there is no middle layer, there is nothing in terms of any lag, and it will directly compile to your base operating system, whether it's on mobile, web, or desktop, and it will convert your code so that the host platform can understand. Sorry, and that's the power of Flutter. So nearly 500,000 of apps use Flutter, and this is not by me. This is by the Google. But even though, like, so many people will say, "Ye kya duglapan hai?" How this can be possible? Like, because Flutter is just new, just 3 years old, and how the like nearly 500,000 applications are available on Flutter. So let's just see all the statistics and all the data. So there are these four different platforms have shown that there is a growth and there is a good number of adoption in the Flutter. So let's talk about the statistics here. So it says that Flutter is the most popular cross-platform mobile framework used by the global developers. Almost 42% of the software developers are using Flutter. So that is what the JetBrains says, that Flutter has surpassed the React Native and become the most popular cross-platform mobile framework. And again, it says that there are 42% of market share right now that are covered by the Flutter framework. Also, the data, there's another platform. It says that the most popular cross-platform framework of development, including Google's Flutter, which is 44% according to their data. And one of the most important survey by Stack Overflow, those who are developers, I guess almost everyone are developers. So we all know what Stack Overflow is. So according to Stack Overflow, in May 2021, over 80,000 developers told that they are using Flutter, or they want to become a Flutter developer, and they are loving this framework. So I hope that makes you, more excited about the Flutter if you are not aware till now. So can I know in chat that how many of you are a Flutter developer, or like have you ever written a Flutter code? If you have ever written a single line of a code in Flutter, please put down in the comment so I know that how many Flutter developers are here. Okay. Okay, I can see some of the answers. Okay, great. So there might be some delay. So just expect a delay because I'm looking at the screen. Okay, that's guys. So let's just start with the basics. That what are the things that you need to take care of while writing the code in Flutter? So first thing and foremost thing is the naming convention. So whenever you start writing the code, you always type a variable name, class name, or anything, and we just start typing it. So how we should write it now and why? So here the first tip: extension names, classes, enums, and type definition should be in upper camel case. Now, camel case means whenever there is a new word appended, it should be a capital. So that's the camel case. Now, upper camel case means the first word should be a capital. So, like if you are declaring a class name, enumeration, type definition, or extension, always you use this format, like class means screen, enumeration, response status, type definition, or some method, and then we are declaring it, and then an extension. So that's how you should declare a class name and the other stuff. Once this is done, then comes the libraries and packages and directories. This are like the snake case. Now, snake case means lowercase with the underscores. So that's why you can define that this is a kind of a library or my package or my directory. So if you want to see all these things, just go and check any GitHub repository, not I mean any official Flutter GitHub repository, and those who are like contributing to the Flutter community on regular basis. The third and most important is the variable names, constants, parameters, and the name parameters. So this all should be in the lower case, lower camel case. So as you can see, there is a one word called book price. Here, book with B started with a small and T is capital. So which is like a small lower camel case. So I can see some of the comments that someone has written that this reminds me of the Java. So it's like almost this is the like very common naming convention. It's not just Flutter specific, but just a very common naming convention that almost all the languages follows this. So I prefer that we should follow the same thing over here in the Flutter as well. Let's specify. Also, there is a new tip which is called specified types for class members. Here we can see that we have said where item, const, book price, final, URL screen. We are not defining any type of this variables. So the tip says that always specify the type for the class members like this. Don't do this variable item, final, car, const, timeout. As I don't know whether everyone knows or not, but Dart is a dynamically typed language. Like for example, if you define a variable and then you assign a value, it will convert itself into that particular type. The value has been assigned to it. So if you don't know what kind of value it is going to be get, then you can utilize this. But if you know that this item will always be an integer, the car will always be in the type of a car object. So it should be defined by the car class constructor. If the name is always be a string, timeout will always be an integer. Always define that. And if it is a constant or a final, put that affix. Now, why this is required? You might have questioned this. So, for example, if you are using where item is equal to 10, and if you do item dot substring before, like as you don't know whether it will be 10 or something, so you have defined where item, and then you are doing item dot substring. Now, when item get the value, it's a 10, so it get converted into the numbers like integer. And when that code hit dot substring, it will just throw the exception and it will crash your app. That's why you should have this kind of nomenclatures. And also the case which we just discussed, that as we don't know what kind of value that item will be receiving, for that we have another operator which is like is operator. So many of the time we just say that hey, use the as operator, but I will suggest you to use is operator rather than the as. Like as we know in item that item can be an animal. So rather than like strictly converting it to the animal, like item as animal and dot name, always check whether item is animal, then only define this line. Otherwise, skip it. Or like always put like check marks. If item is string, number, or like this. So this will save unnecessary bugs into your code. I hope this helped and this makes sense. Next is declare multiple variable with a shortcut. I have seen developers are declaring the same type of variable like this, like integer mark, integer total, integer amount. In the Dart, you can avoid this and just simply type integer variable their value and then comma. Make attention here that this is a semicolon and here is a comma, so that it will make your life more easy. Otherwise, you will go and write the code and you will say, hey, this is not working. But here is just a comma and here it is the semicolon. So as you have used this shortcut, we have another shortcut called cascade operators. Like if this is a one variable I have defined path, and I'm doing path.line 2, line 2, line 2, rather than writing path again and again and again, you can actually omit this semicolon and type double dot, which is the cascading operator. So use double dot and do the method so you can avoid this path dot, path dot, path dot. So this is again a kind of a one tip that most of the people follows. Use interpolation to compose the string. So in Java or in any other language, we always use like plus to concat the string like this. Like variable declaration is equal to hello plus name plus UR plus year minus birth and blah blah blah. In Dart, it will be suggested and it will be really be helpful and more readable if you write this, and you can like evaluate that particular expiration using the dollar. So this will make your string more easy and more readable. Use expression functions bodies. What does this means? Like here we know that get width function is returning right minus left. Here the get progress bar has the return type just a progress bar. So what does this tip means is when we want to return a single thing and we know what is this, if there is only single expiration in the method, don't use like this, use directly the arrow function and part it. So this will make your life more easy and more readable. Like get progress bar, we know we are going to get the circular progress indicator with this value color. So that's how we can make a code more readable, more small, and it feels good. Don't create a lambda when a tier of will do. What does this mean? So I have seen many people like doing this. We have a one method called print, and we have something other, and we are calling this method again and again. Now, as we know, the method has the same parameter which we have on the parent method. So you can directly omit this calling and you can just put the method name. Or maybe most of the developers might know it as pass by reference who are from the JavaScript. So this is a similar kind of notation, but it's not a pass by reference. It's just cascading the stuff. Or maybe like it's kind of a you do not need a tier of, it's just a normal lambda function. So you can just pass this. So in for each print, now for each whatever kind of parameter that he is passing, he directly passes the print and it will call the print method. So you can remove the 3 line of code and make it in the single line. So that's all like a very basic stuff which you might have seen in different languages and different framework as well. Yeah, I can see some of the comments which says that yeah, it's a JavaScript plus Python plus C Sharp, Java plus JavaScript. So let me tell you one thing. So Dart was a 10 years old language, but it just got mature and came into in the life of developers when Flutter came into the picture. So Flutter made the Dart back alive. And the way Flutter grown, they decided that let's take all the best and good thing from the different framework, and they adopted those things. This is what my understanding is. Maybe it can be wrong, but I'm not sure. But this is what I understand. So whatever the base thing that they came up to from the different framework, so they just adopted. So I always says this: the robustness of Java and the flexibility of the JavaScript, the both the thing you can get in the Dart, and that's why you will like love with the Dart, and it will be very easy to get into Dart. So let's just talk about a bit important best practices, which is like bit advanced. So this is all about the UI and the widgets. So whenever we write widgets, and if you think that there is a value which is like constant and not getting changed, or that widget that we are giving, it's not getting changed, always use the const like this. So as you can see over here, we have a center widget written with the const, the padding we have const, the text we have const, and text style we have const. Now, why this const is required, or why it is suggested to write? So in Flutter, when you write the const, the compiler knows that this value doesn't getting changed. So whenever you rebuild it or re-render it, this particular widget will not get re-rendered in the widget tree, and that's how it can save some execution cycles of your CPU. And that's why using this kind of optimization, it become a bit fast. The next is separate class for all the magic string and numbers. Now, what is the magic strings and numbers? I have seen a lot of developers writing this: if status code equal to 200, if color is equal to color and then hash code FFFFFF, like something like this. I know the color of the red is FF000. So I have seen a lot of people directly doing this. The best way is create a separate class and take a reference from it rather than putting this all these magic numbers. So whenever any number, any hash, or anything which is not related to code, that denoted as the magic string or magic numbers. So always use a separate class. Like for the colors as well, you can do something like this. For the string, if we have this kind of functionality which we can use. So we can directly use strings dot appname, strings dot done, string dot error data font. Now, the benefit of doing this, one is the optimization, and second is like error free code. So, because if we use like green color as this color in all the app, and if our designer says that, hey, we need to change the shade of the green, are we going to find all the references of this and going to update this? And there are high chances that we might miss one or two. So this is the best way. Just put the value at once and utilize this reference. So if you change it one place, it will get reflected all the places. Also, avoid print statement. I have seen many developers who are starting with that journey with the Flutter. They are writing a lot of print statements, but just keep an habit of not writing print statement and using the dev tools. The next is do not overuse the media query. If you want to use the media query, use it properly and with the proper mindset. If you don't know what is media query, so media query helps you to identify the size of your device height and width, and then you can utilize that size to make your app responsive. But there are other ways to make your app responsive rather than the media query. So avoid use of media query. Now there are some advanced widget advanced topic which are like very specific towards the widgets. But here I don't have a code snippet because that's very long. So I'll just go through it one by one. It's just a list. So the first is use the size box instead of container. Why? Because container doesn't have a constant constructor. It has a variable constructor. So sizebox is more like efficient in place of the container. The second is use the if condition instead of ternary operator. So I have seen many developers for doing this. Let me just open the Dartpad and show you what I mean. So I have seen people doing this, like let's execute this first and let's see what happens. Okay, okay, we got this. Now what we want is, I will convert this into the column. So I'll remove this column, children. Okay, looks like some error here. So we'll remove this first. We'll type column. Now we have children. We have text form field. We'll run it. Okay, it's something we have missing this. Okay. So now we have this and we have one text view. So in text view, we will be having hello world. I hope this is the right spelling of text view. Okay, maybe this. See, this is what happened when you are dependent on your code editor. So the whole point is, so the whole point is writing this is we'll go here and in the build method, okay, in build method, we will simply convert it to the column. And in column, what we write, we always write, for example, like this, where we have final is true equal to true. And here we type bool. So it's true. And if I write like this, it's true, then text view true, else I'll write null. This actually not suggested. Rather than we can use if is true, I'll simply type this. This will make more easy and more readable. So avoid using ternary operators in the code and use if condition. Avoid large trees. I mean, separate the widget in the different class. Now, here we have again a code which have like some long thing, as you can see, even though it is separated, but still. So you can actually remove that part and convert into the dedicated widget. Like for example, in the code we can see we have one screen, and in the screen, I guess I have cleaned the code. So we don't have the longer files, but most of the time I have seen the people who are starting with the Flutter, they have the number of line are like 500, 700, 800. So try to reduce that and convert it into like this single objects or like single widgets and separated widget which have like dedicated work to do, so that we have a dedicated space which can use the proper alignment and proper optimization. So that's the third part. Fourth is, do not use build methods. So let me just show an example what I mean by that. I'll open the another project, like for example, and I'll write build. So we will be having some methods like button, my button, something like that, which returns the widget, and then some space. Like for example, like this. If we do this widget underscore action button, do not use this kind of nomenclature. Never use a method which returns a widget. Always convert this into a particular class so that it has proper life cycle of the widgets. The fifth point, a bit important, like use key whenever possible for efficient rendering. In the list view, you might have faced this problem n number of times that you click one item and then the whole list view item is getting updated. And that's the problem. And that is why, because we are not using the list view or like widgets key property. So if you provide a key, it has the unique key and it will persist it. Based on that, it will do the efficient rendering. And the last but not least, create custom extension methods to reduce the repetition. If you find that on an integer or on a string, you are doing the same thing again and again, Rather than converting into the method, write extension methods. The way you can use the inbuilt methods like dot toString, dot substring, you can utilize your own method and convert it into the extension method. So the list is so long, but we have limited time, so I have to stop here. Uh, but if you have any question, we have Q&A time for that. So let me know. And if you still need any help with Flutter after today's session, don't worry. मैं help कर दूंगा. Tension मत लो. Okay? I mean, I'll help you out. Don't worry about it. So thank you. I'm available using this handle on Twitter, Instagram, and on all the social media, including LinkedIn. So feel free to reach out to me and let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you, Dhrumil, for this insightful session. Now we'll go on to some question asked in the comment section. So the first one here we have is by Vishesh. He has asked, we should use layout builder. So he's asked about layout builder.
Okay, yes. So yeah, so for responsive design, we can use the layout builder. So what layout builder does is whenever there is a change happens in your screen's layout, it will call that builder method. So like if you have something regarding when your keyboard comes in on the screen, so your screen will become a smaller comparative when the keyboard is not there. At that time, the widget will get re-rendered and you will get the new height and width. So rather than using the media query, you can utilize the layout builder and then you can resize your screen. Layout builder also helps when you rotate your phone or your device. So when you are in portrait to landscape mode or landscape to portrait, your configuration gets changes. So whenever your configuration gets changes, your layout builder will hit and it will give you the new new parameters with the new data. I hope
Okay, so
this answers
someone,
your question.
yeah. So thank you for that. So someone has asked, how is the execution speed of Dart? I think they wanted to compare it to other languages.
I'm not sure what exactly it means. How is your execution speed of that?
No, no,
Can I
not
just brief?
your. Yeah, I think it means the execution of Dart itself. I think the speed of Dart.
Okay, so why the Dart is so fast? I guess this is the question, and how it is executing the things in. Okay, so Dart. I don't know whether the attendees over here understand or not, but I will try to make it more simple. So Dart uses the two main key components in terms of the compilation. One is just-in-time compilation, and second is ahead-of-time compilation. So this is a kind of the core crux that which makes the Flutter and Dart execution faster. The second thing, I'm not going into the much detail for now. Otherwise, that will be more techie session. So the another reason for why the speed of Dart or maybe the Flutter is as soon as you write the code, and just because of this JIT AOT, it converts into the native ARM code. So whatever code that we have written, the host platform can directly convert it into the machine language. Like as you write the code in Android, I mean for Android in Java or Kotlin, it just directly compiles to your native platform. The same thing happens with the Dart compiler as well, and that's why the execution speed is fast.
Okay, sir. I guess that answers the question. So, we have another question here that is, it is about GetX. Someone has been asking about what GetX is and what are
Okay,
your views on that.
Okay, so GetX is kind of like whole and soul library, which I can say, and which is like very easy for anyone who is starting with the Flutter. So those who are starting with Flutter and those who don't know how exactly the Flutter works, what are the nitty gritty under the Flutter framework, they just simply go and learn GetX, and they will be happy that they are building the apps on Flutter. But what happens behind the scene is GetX will help you to make your things faster, build faster, and the stuff. But another way, you are not learning the Flutter; you are actually learning the GetX, and that's one point which actually I don't motivate or suggest to people. So if you don't understand the main crux of the framework, you will not be able to build the scalable application. And there are high chances that you might miss something. Even though you are using the GetX, they have good documentation, but as you are not going through the nitty gritty of the Flutter, and so you might miss some of the best part of the Flutter and also from the GetX as well. So if you are new to the Flutter and if you are learning, if you are in a starting phase, I will suggest you to do not use any state management library. Use only state until and unless you are not able to solve your problem using the state. I mean, just go to the extent. I mean, hit your head onto the wall. Till then, if you are not able to solve that problem using state, then only use any library. And before using any library, go and read documentation, what exactly it helps. And still, rather than using a library, use the inherited widget, which is again the inbuilt, because internally, if you check any library, whether it's like blog, riverpod, provider, anything, they are using the inherited widget concept only. So go to the basics and then utilize any libraries.
Okay, sir. So building upon to that question, I have another question for you. So suppose you want to make a very large scale app and you want to use a state provider for that. Obviously, GitX won't be able to do that. We have others like Block and Riverpod. So what do you think is the
Uh,
best solution for that?
so in that case, see, I don't buy your argument regarding GetX won't be able to do it. GetX will be able to do it. But the thing is, as you don't know how the Flutter works, you might not be utilize GetX properly. So that's why, like, I won't suggest you to do GetX at the very first. Utilize it, use the GetX, but don't make it as your, first option, like your go-to option. And come to your main question that like what library has been helpful for, like doing the large scale application. So, like, you can do using any of the library, like using the provider, using Riverpod, Mobex, Block, everyone. The only thing is how good you are with that library and their conventions. Like I have developed n number of application using Block, using Mobex, and using provider as well. And almost all these application have more than 50,000 downloads. So you can see that it's nothing like that which library has some limitations. They have their own way to solve the problem. If you are not liking the way it is solving the problem, you can try the another one. Like for example, Block has their own way of writing a bit more boilerplate code, but it makes the things so visible in terms of on paper that that at which state your app will be. In other case, the Mobex is a bit difficult in terms of understanding, but once you know this, that make your life more easy because it has a code generation. So many of the people are not in opinion with the code generation part. Me, I love that because I don't have to write the code, because always human makes the mistakes, not the computer. So I prefer to make the things which computer can do so that I can avoid the mistakes. So yeah, there are different options. These are just a different option. It's not like that one is superior than other.
Okay, we have another question from an audience here.
Mhm.
He is asking why to not use media query? Does it have any problems?
Yes. So media query runs on a context. So if you are using a context of your parent widget, so if your parent widget does get changed, your media query will get fired. And if your media query get fired, your widget will get re-rendered. So like if you are down to the fourth screen, and if you're doing some changes on a first screen, all four screen will get changed because of the
Okay.
media query, and all screen are getting re-rendered again and again and again. That will create a problem. So that's why I'll suggest do not overuse the media query until and unless it is required. Use layout builder, use padding, margin, flex, expanded. Those are different widgets available to make your app responsive to all the screens.
Okay, sir. I have one more question for you. So, in like the latest release, we had like there was a Flutter seminar, and it was announced that Flutter Web is now stable. So, do you really think that Flutter Web is now capable of achieving what other web frameworks are?
So here is a a minor difference that everyone need to take care of. So Flutter Web is not for the website building. If you are want to build a content driven website, Flutter team doesn't suggest this to use the Flutter for that. So Flutter is totally to solve a problem and to create the applications, not the content-driven websites. So if you are building a web app, like for example, you are developing one admin panel, which have some operations to do with the data, and then you press on a button, you do something else, you show some operations over there, right? If you have that kind of use cases, if you are building a web application, then you can go and utilize the Flutter for web. But if you are thinking to create like blogging website, or a website for your college project, or like something just with the content and anything, then better you can utilize the existing Wake frameworks rather than this Flutter cross-platform framework.
Okay, Rishi, do you have any questions?
Yeah, like as we all know, Flutter is very new in the market, so there are not many apps on GitHub. So how can like one contribute in open source with Flutter?
Okay, so if you can directly contribute to the Flutter repo as well. If you go to the Flutter repo, you can see there is like like easy to solve tag, like first to solve, or like easy to solve kind of labels are there. I'm not able to recall the perfect labels, like first timer, like if you are first timer of solving any problem, so they have that specific tags. You can choose the tags which are like very easy for someone to start contributing. So using that tag, you can go and like raise your PR. Apart from that, there are many open source projects available. You just need to maybe query with the correct word. You will be able to find some good projects over there. Or maybe what you can do is you can just simply go on a Twitter and with the hashtag Flutter, just search, hey, I want to contribute to the open source Flutter, and there are a lot of people are waiting for such help, because just because of the lack of time. Like for example, if I have 2 or 3 libraries, whereas I'm occupied with my personal and professional life, I might not get time to contribute on the open source of my libraries, and there might be some open issues. So I can simply go and fix that issue and raise the PR. So you can also do this, like whatever the libraries that you are using it, and you think there are some problems, you can go to open issues. If you know the solution, raise the PR and contribute over there. So these are the ways you can contribute to the Flutter open source ecosystem.
Okay, got it. And like I have one another question. Like
Mhm.
before starting Flutter, like everyone thinks we should learn native first or like directly jump onto this hybrid app development. So what would you suggest? Like we should do?
So like knowing native is always a beneficiary, because every app that you are going to work on, there are no guarantee that it will be only been developed using the Flutter. There are high chances that you might need to talk to the native APIs at some point of time and to understand. But if you're a student and if you want to start your career directly with the Flutter, in that case, I'll not suggest you to jump directly on the Flutter. You can, I mean, start with the Flutter, but parallelly you can learn some basics of whatever the platform that you can easily catch on, like whether Android or iOS, so that it will open up your mind regarding the mobile ecosystem, right? How the mobile things works behind the scenes, how that platform behaves for particular scenarios. If you know this, you will become a better Flutter developer. So it's better to always know the native one and then adopt uh, the the cross platform.
Okay.
Okay, sir. We have a
We have
question.
one question.
Mhm. So
Uh,
the question says, is it a myth that having fewer package increase the app performance? It's not a myth, but let me just help you with this. So, for example, if you are writing application code which has 200 files, and if you are writing a code which has 500 files, so comparatively, 200 files of code have a better performance if every file or every code written on the 200 files is getting executed at any point of time or utilizing it. Now, at a 500 files, only 250 files code are getting utilized or executed and other codes are unnecessary and not being utilized, then there is no performance difference in between. The difference will be on the size, because 500 files have their own size, 200 files have their own size. Now come to your question, which is like, the fewer packages increase their performance. Yes, if you have more packages, that will add the size to your build, because to solve one problem, if you are integrating one package, and there are high chances that that particular package is solving many problems rather than just the one that you are looking for. So you are annoyingly adding unnecessary code to your build. So that will not degrade the performance drastically, but it will impact to your size and a performance a bit. Depends on how that particular library is written.
Okay.
Okay, sir. So we have one last here question before we wrap up the session. So let's
Mhm.
go to this. So yeah, this is the question.
Okay, so the question says that how can we maintain Flutter code in a big production app? So, okay, let me just divide this like into two parts. One is the what exactly the big production app, and second is how we maintain this. So the big production app can have multiple features. Like if we consider more than 10 features, we can consider it as a big app. Okay. So each feature have their own dedicated functionality, which have dedicated code, and also it might have some common functionality, like some common codes. Like throughout the app, it has some common designs, like some common themes, some common colors, common strings that we use in the session. So what we can do while we are working on the big production app, the specific feature on the main production app, we have the dedicated folders over there that will can be become a small module. So we can modularize the code. So that call the modularization. You create a one directory for the particular feature, and you have those feature specific code into that folder, and those the code which has been shared by among more than one feature, you can put it in the some common files, or most of the time we used to name it as the utils, or like some common folders. So you can modularize the code, and then you can utilize the common files from the common folders or common directories. And to know more better, I have seen most of the people following the RESO coder for the clean architecture. You can also follow that. There are many different patterns, like architecture patterns available on the Google, like on the internet. You can follow anyone, but just be sure that you don't follow anyone blindly. Just go understand why a particular pattern is there, and whether it is solving your problem or not, and then only utilize it. Otherwise, what will happen, you will simply follow one pattern, and then you might ended up by writing unnecessary code. So before you write, go think and understand.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
So we have one perfect question to wrap up the session. So it is how can one go through their journey with Flutter, and what is a roadmap, something like that.
It's very simple. Just go to flutter.dev, and there is a very big button on the right hand side, which is name with the get started. Just click on it
Okay.
and just start it, and then you will be able to do it. Also, like Flutter has their own code labs. You can search for Flutter code labs from the Google. You will get those code labs. There are very good free courses available. There is a one community person who had created a course free of cost, and that is now available on the free code camp. I just miss his name. So you can just go to free code camp YouTube channel and search for the Flutter course, which is like almost 37 hours long course, which covers almost everything which you need to know from start to to begin with your career with the Flutter. Also, there is another GDE from India named Pawan Kumar. He has own channel called Codepur. So he also has his own courses and a lot of resources on his YouTube channel. You can also follow him. There are other GDEs like me who are generating the content. I am the one who is generating less content. I'm more into the the live session and the talks like this. So if you want to go for written and audio visual content, you can go over there. And if you want the session like this, feel free to reach out to me for the next session, and I would love to talk to you again.
Okay, guys, so we will wrap up the session over here. Thank you guys for joining in, and thank you, sir, for taking this amazing session. We really enjoyed the Shark Tank memes in the middle, and
Okay.
it was great to have you over here, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Rishi, for inviting me.
Thank you. Thank you. No problem. My pleasure. Thank you.
Take care, everyone, and just I hope now the situations are a bit in a better position, but still, try to be safe as much as possible so that we can avoid another lockdown in future.
Yeah.
Okay,
Definitely.
see you. Happy weekend,
Okay.
guys. Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Okay, guys.